The first dawnlight crept over the potter's wheel, illuminating the small cluttered workspace. Riva Embergrove stood at the wheel, hands moving deftly as they worked the clay into a delicate vase. The rhythm of the wheel and the gentle spin of the clay were soothing, a comforting routine that Riva had performed countless times. As the light grew stronger, it cast a warm glow over the room, and Riva felt a sense of peace settle in. The air was filled with the sweet scent of damp earth and the sound of birds chirping outside. But amidst the familiarity, a small, unexpected presence caught their eye, a book, lying open on the nearby workbench, its pages fluttering gently as if stirred by an unseen breeze. The cover bore Riva's name written in fresh ink, a strange and captivating sight. Riva's hands paused, the clay spinning slowly as they gazed at the book, their mind wondering who could have left it there. The silence in the room was almost palpable, broken only by the soft creaking of the wheel and the distant call of a bird. As Riva stood there, the warmth of the sun on their skin seemed to seep into their bones, and they felt a sense of stillness wash over them. The world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the wheel, the clay, and the book. Riva's curiosity got the better of them, and they set aside their work to examine the book. The words on the pages seemed to follow the rhythm of their own work, a cadence that echoed the spin of the wheel and the gentle thud of the clay. As they delved deeper into the book, the air in the room began to feel heavier, the shadows cast by the dawnlight twisting into strange, ominous shapes. The sound of the birds outside grew fainter, and the silence in the room grew thicker, like a physical presence. Riva felt a shiver run down their spine, but their fascination with the book kept them reading, even as the light from the window began to fade, casting the room in a warm golden glow. The words on the pages seemed to shift and rearrange themselves, like the patterns on a pot freshly spun from the wheel. Riva's eyes moved slowly, drinking in the strange, hypnotic rhythm of the text. The room seemed to grow darker, the shadows deepening, and Riva's heart began to beat more slowly, as if it too were being drawn into the book's rhythm. The scent of old paper and ink filled the air, and Riva's fingers trailed over the pages, feeling the raised letters and the smooth texture of the paper. As they read on, the world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the book, the wheel, and the darkness that seemed to be growing within them. The days passed, and Riva found themselves drawn back to the book again and again, the words on the pages rearranging themselves in ways that seemed impossible. The potter's wheel, once a comforting presence, now seemed to loom over them, its motion taking on a menacing quality. Tools would move on their own, the sound of the wheel spinning out of control, and Riva would feel a cold presence in the room watching them. The air grew colder, the shadows deepening into dark, malevolent things that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Riva tried to shake off the feeling of being trapped, but it only seemed to intensify, the world around them growing tighter, more claustrophobic. The sound of their own breathing grew louder, and the smell of the clay and earth began to feel suffocating. Riva's hands would pause, the wheel slowing to a stop, as they felt the weight of the book's gaze upon them. And then the wheel would start again, the motion jerky and uncontrolled, like a living thing trying to break free. The room seemed to grow smaller, the walls closing in on Riva, as they felt the darkness growing within them. The book seemed to be exerting some kind of influence, drawing Riva deeper into its world, and they felt powerless to resist. As the days passed, Riva's sense of self began to blur, their identity merging with the wheel, the clay, and the book. They felt like a puppet on a string, their movements controlled by some unseen force, and the wheel seemed to be the only thing that was real. The world outside receded, and Riva was left alone with the wheel, the book, and the darkness that seemed to be growing within them. The potter's wheel began to perform its own work, the clay spinning into strange twisted shapes that seemed to defy the laws of nature. Riva stood frozen, unable to move or look away, as the wheel worked with a speed and precision that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. The room was silent, the only sound the soft hum of the wheel, and Riva felt their mind reeling, unable to comprehend the horror that was unfolding before them. The wheel's work was a blur of motion, a whirlwind of clay and spin, and when it finally stopped, Riva was left staring at a shape that seemed to mock them, a twisted, nightmarish thing that seemed to embody all their deepest fears. The air was heavy with the scent of wet earth and decay, and Riva's heart felt like it was going to stop, their breath caught in their throat. The wheel stood still, its motion ceasing as suddenly as it had begun, leaving Riva alone with the monstrous creation it had spawned. The silence that followed was oppressive, a physical weight that pressed down on Riva, making it hard to breathe. The darkness seemed to be growing, spreading out from the wheel like a stain, and Riva felt themselves being pulled into it, consumed by the very thing they had created. The potter's wheel stood still, the room silent, the only sound the soft, ragged breathing of Riva Embergrove. Kitten Embergrove, a villager, walked into the room, their eyes fixed on the wheel, their hand reaching out to touch the clay. The wheel seemed to wait, its silence a living, breathing thing, as Kitten's fingers made contact with the cool, damp surface. The air was heavy with anticipation, the shadows cast by the fading light twisting into ominous shapes. Kitten's eyes were drawn to the book, still lying open on the workbench, its pages fluttering gently in the faint breeze. As they reached out to touch the book, the silence seemed to grow thicker, the world holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. Kitten's hand hesitated, their fingers poised above the pages as if sensing the darkness that lay within,